a number of things we want to discuss. Tomorrow. Can you hear me? Can the people back there hear? We're supposed to be quiet. Let me start out with maybe the fire department. Representatives from the LA Fire Department. Where's our firefighter? 1, 2, 3, gone. Okay, let's go from fire to police. I see a number of our officers. See the lead. Why don't you come up? Give us an update on the Sherman Oaks lack of activity, hopefully.
Thank you, Richard. Good evening, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here tonight. Myself, along with Officer Saldana, we are the senior lead officers covering the Sherman Oaks area, and we're pleased to report tonight.
Wait, excuse me a minute. Joan, you're running for city council, right?
Yes, I am.
Okay, and you set an example, right?
Absolutely.
And the police are speaking? You're not trying to over-talk the police, are you? Continue, she's got the message.
Anyway, so as I was saying, we're pleased to report tonight that we're currently down together, Officer Saldana and myself, for northern and southern Sherman Oaks. We're down about 22% in crime as compared to this same time last year. So the numbers are looking good. Thank you. And of course, we couldn't do that without you guys. It definitely takes a partnership and working together to keep the numbers down. So thank all of you as well. But with that being said, although the numbers are down, obviously there still is activity going on out there. And just the one thing we wanted to pass along tonight to all of you, in and around the Sherman Oaks Park area, early morning, between about 8 and 9 o'clock in the morning right now, we're seeing vehicles getting broken into, and what it appears as if the suspects are targeting females that are showing up to either walk or jog in the morning, and they're leaving their purses inside the vehicle. So what we ask is, obviously, if you're going to visit the park in the morning, please pull over prior to getting there, put your purse in the trunk of the vehicle, so once you park and get out, if someone is watching you, they don't see you leave the purse behind inside the car. So with that being said, thank all of you again for being here tonight, and I'll pass it back.
Thank you. Okay, next is Harvard Westlake School. A couple months ago, we had a presentation on their proposed project on cold water, and we've invited the school to present an explanation of the project. So I'd like to introduce John Amato, who's with the school, and who will give us a brief presentation about the project and its possible impacts and the reasons.
Richard, thank you very much. It is a pleasure for me to be here. I'd like to thank a couple of people. Richard, number one, for having me. Jules Fair for making sure that my arrival... I'm supposed to be able to do this. I'm a teacher. Yeah, I know. I've forgotten this. It's nice to be the appetizer for the main entree, my cure, so that's pretty cool. And I'd also like to thank Marshall Long for his participation in this, making sure that we, as a project proponent, had an opportunity to present. Some of the reasons why. I've been in school for a number of years. I got there in 1978. The first campus that I ever was on was the Coldwater campus. And for years, we had the kids park on Coldwater Canyon. We didn't have enough space on the campus. We also went into the neighborhood a fair amount for special events and nights that we had theatrical events, sporting events at the same time. So we did get into the neighborhood too many times. It was not the right way to go. We've also begun a busing program to get kids to school without cars. Those buses wind up on Coldwater Canyon. And if you've ever been by the campus in the afternoon, in the morning when we drop off, in the afternoon when we pick up, those buses are right around the corners of the entry. They get in the middle of Coldwater Canyon, not in the middle, but on the edges. So between the kids parking on Coldwater and the buses parking there, it's not as safe as we would like it to be. How do you fix it? How do you make it better? Okay, you build parking. We have had for years, across the street on the west side of Coldwater, land. We've used it for housing, faculty housing, we've used it for a number of different reasons, and that became a good opportunity, that became a good place. Sorry. One of the benefits of being little. Well, that's not, okay. So this is where the kids would park. This is where the buses wound up parking. And we said, fine, we've got to figure out another way to do this. So we decided that it would be a good idea to build across the street on Coldwater, build on the west side. We would have a parking structure that had 750 spaces. A lot of spaces. But to get those spaces, we said, okay, we've got to move the entry of the school down about 37 feet, which lost about 150 spaces. We had to figure out some place to put the buses. St. Michael's parking lot, you know, the Episcopal church that's up the street from us or south of us. The parking area there is Harvard Westlakes. They use it on Sundays. We're perfectly happy for them to use it on Sundays. That's when it should be used. The kids are not there. But we said, fine, we're going to take all of those spaces and make that into a bus area where the buses could come in the morning, drop their kids safely, go away during the day. We didn't want it to be a parking area for buses. And in the afternoon, come back, pick up their kids and go away. Safe, get the kids all off Coldwater. Safe. So we lost essentially 350 spaces. So when you do the addition, 750, okay, that's a large number. It goes down to 400 spaces that we actually gain. What we wind up with is an ability to get guests, fans, audiences off the street and into our lot. And this is not something that the city is going to have to pay for. It's only that we're going to have to pay for it, and we're very willing to do it. We're also going to increase the number of lanes up and down Coldwater, south and north in that particular area. We've got dedicated right-hand turn lanes from the north, Ventura Boulevard, going south into the parking structure. No gates that come down to keep people from getting into that parking structure easily. We want that to be a free access. We're building a left-hand turn lane off Coldwater from the south down to the north that will take 20 cars. That will be more than enough to get people off the street into that left-hand turn lane. What we're trying to do is free up Coldwater Canyon, have the parking off the street. We're also building a practice field on top of the parking structure. One of the great concerns that has been raised, and I want to make sure that I've got my tools helping at the time.
20 after 7.
Okay, we want to make sure that, and it's a great concern of the community, where are these balls going to go that are on the playing field? Great question. There is going to be a netting that is going to be put over the field so those balls do not get in the street. I used to coach soccer on the upper school campus. In all the years I was there, I never saw a ball go into Coldwater Canyon. But you don't want that ever to happen. So that's what we said, fine, we're going to do that. It's a practice field. It's not a competition field. There'll be no stands. There'll be no places for fans to be. And we had a situation this winter when we had a girls soccer team playing. They were in the semifinals. We had a lacrosse team that had a game. Those kids had to come over to the middle school. The girls had to come over to the middle school campus 8 miles away to practice, as opposed to being able to practice on their campus. It's an extensive project. We think it will benefit the community. It will not cost the community anything. And we're happy to make sure that we get people off the street, our fans, our audiences, our guests. We don't necessarily want them parking on the public way. We want them parking safely on our property.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Some of the people may not understand when you say park. What do you mean by park?
That's when you place an automobile in a place when you shut the engine off and it stays there without
Wow.
being...
I've been telling these people for years about parking.
I know.
I don't understand.
It's another language.
Thank you very much. Okay, Bobby Anderson, update on some important issues in our community.
Thank you. First on the 405, you may have, if you live near the 405, near Valley Vista on Woodcliff or some of those streets, received a flyer that was stuffed into your mailbox or something. They're going to be closing one lane northbound the whole weekend on Sepulveda, and this is just the beginning. The freeway's almost done, but now they've got to redo Sepulveda because it got so mangled up. And they're not going to do much, they're just going to cut 18 inches of Sepulveda away and redo it. So for the next year, you can start to see, yeah, they're going down on Sepulveda, 18 inches and doing the whole thing. It'll be very nice when it's done, but it's going to take some time. So you're going to see the beginnings of that this weekend and probably throughout 2014. But they're going to finish the freeway by July, they say. You know, I can't laugh, I'm official, I'm supposed to look nice. But I'm going to go to the next meeting and then we yell at them. This is the 5th schedule delay that we've seen, but hopefully it'll be done. So if you have any questions, let me know, and I'll keep you posted at the next meeting in the newsletter. The other thing is, I belong to a group that started in Sherman Oaks homeowners, and now we're countywide. We have 12 members all the way to Long Beach.
You belong or you're chairman of it?
I'm chairman. I'm the president and founder. But we met with the Federal Aviation Administration, 10 of them, 30 pilots, and 10 of our people at the FAA building last Thursday, and had a 3-hour meeting to discuss how they're going to voluntarily reduce helicopter noise. And we had an interesting incident here in Sherman Oaks. You all remember Jamzilla? Well, when we had Carmageddon 1, they sat above my house and woke my wife and I up, so that's how I got involved. Carmageddon 2, they pooled all the news sources together and only had one helicopter. Well, they forgot to do that for Jamzilla, and they had somebody circling 23 minutes over Mountain Gate, and they tried to fly high, but of course it still woke everybody up. They were there at 11 o'clock at night. So that's why we're pursuing written agreements. It's going to take time, but we're trying to get written agreements with the pilots to say, we won't do this, we won't do this, we won't do this. So I'll keep you posted. A lot of you are on our mailing list, and we may ask you to send some letters in once in a while, and thank you for your support.
Okay, Marshall Long, and with that I would ask Matt Epstein, who's president of the South Valley Planning Commission, to please leave the room. And there he goes. And after Marshall, if deputies could come up here and introduce themselves, and also candidates. Marshall, update on planning.
As you know, the Sunkist property is being developed, and they're kind of in the early stages. We have met with them, and Jeff Calvin met with them, and I think they presented their plan to the council office this week. I met with Jeff Calvin a week or so ago, and he's an architect, as many of you know, and so he has the architectural side of it. I'm more sort of planning and where the traffic going and that sort of thing. But Jeff had some things that he wanted to see what they could improve on. Right now, the building itself is historic and a very dear to the councilman's heart. And what the problem is in order to get enough buildings to keep the developer happy, they have to build them all around the existing building. So it's be very difficult to see the building from the street. You can see it when you're zipping by on the freeway, but and that was one of Jeff's points. The building that they're surrounding it are kind of a vanilla design. The building that's there now is very monumental and interesting design. Jeff's point was he wanted the architect to dazzle us. You know, let's make this a statement. The things that I saw was that there's limited space there for the trucks that will serve the market that's going to be there. There's one spot that they can back into on a slant behind the building, but I asked them where the second truck parked, because in markets you always have trucks stacked up and then they'll have a refrigeration unit on top. So I never got an answer to that, so we have to look at that. We don't, and they don't know whether or not the market across the street, the very popular Trader Joe's, is going to move across. But one of the things that I caution about is that if it does, or even if it doesn't, then people going into Trader Joe's are going to park in their parking lot, because the Trader Joe's parking lot is very, very crowded. So anyway, that's kind of where we stand right now, and we're still gathering information. Thanks.
Thank you. Deputies, please come up and introduce yourself and give a quick statement of what's happening in Sherman Oaks.
Good evening, everybody. Tommy Newman from Councilman Tom LaBonge's office. I'll keep it quick. 3 things. The first hot item is that I don't know if any of you are familiar with the unpaved portion of Oakfield up by like Beverly Glen. It's dirt. We had an illegal tree cutting of we think between 12 and 15 oaks and walnuts, which is absolutely terrible, we all agree. And the challenge here is that the property owners haven't applied to build anything. So for some reason they just didn't like the native trees and decided to cut them down. So our office is bringing the full weight of all of the resources that we have down upon them to make their lives as miserable as possible. So we'll keep you in the loop on that one. But the trees are gone, unfortunately. The second item is the council office and Metro have applied for a planning grant to study other uses of the river corridor from about Van Nuys to about Whitsett, to about right around there, maybe Fulton. That's a portion of the river that hasn't had anything done to it, and you know that we're doing other parts of projects along other stretches of the river. So we're pretty excited about that. We'll find out about that $1 million grant in June. And then the last item is you guys have been very quiet on giving us stuff to pick up with our truck. So that just means the truck drives around. The first place they always go, you'll be happy to know, is the 101 off-ramp at Van Nuys. Every week, that's the first place they stop. There's constantly stuff there.
So is there a telephone number like your cell number that people can call?
Yes, I do have a cell phone. Area code 213-473-2346. Give me a call. Give me a call. Tell me where the couches are. Tell me where the piles of trash are. That's the stuff we love to get. The truck is out here on Wednesdays and Thursdays, so they have plenty of time, and so we're always happy to help.
Thank you. Where is the other deputy? Where is Tamara? Where is Jonathan Brand? You're hiding behind Natasha. Introduce yourself to them. Tell us what you do for a living.
Jonathan Brand with Councilman Tom LaBonge's office. I'm the planning deputy for the area of Sherman Oaks. And as you all know, Sherman Oaks native. Proud to be here. Marshall gave an update. Sunkist is something that is in the hopper preliminarily. The meeting got canceled today, so I haven't seen the plans yet either, so I want to see them, and we'll go from there. Lots of new restaurants opening up on Ventura Boulevard in our district.
Don't give it away.
I won't give it away because I'm going to provide a nice list to be in the next newsletter, so you have something good to read. I'm continuing to work on the... What do you mean? Got a few laughs. I'm continuing to work on...
my wife.
I'm continuing to work on the parking structure at Cedros and Ventura Boulevard. It's below the affordable senior housing. We have had a chance to take DOT out there. I addressed some of the issues with them. There's about 8 things. We actually have 3 done, and we're moving forward.
You're not shy.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's a work in progress. I mean, everything takes a while, and we're going to continue and bring that parking lot up to hopefully full capacity, because right now it's empty and there's a parking problem in the area. So we'll continue to work on that.
Thank you very much. Tamar, you're on your cell phone, texting away. Do you want to say anything? She says no. Well, thank you for coming anyways. Okay, candidates for office. Please come up, introduce yourself. 30 seconds or less. Come on up. Anyone running for office?
All right, good evening, everybody. My name is John Morris. I'm running for Los Angeles County Assessor because our current assessor is a crook. He has been indicted and charged with over 40 felony counts of embezzlement, fraud, and taking bribes. I, on the other hand, am a current criminal prosecutor for the last 23 years. For 7 years, I have prosecuted gang murders here in the San Fernando Valley. I am endorsed by former District Attorney Steve Cooley because he knows that I will clean up the assessor's office, and I'm endorsed by the Howard Jarvis Taxpayers Association because I will protect Proposition 13.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Everyone's fighting. No one wants to come to the microphone.
No, actually, they're so polite. What gentlemen we have here. Hi, everybody. Joan Pellico, and I will be running for City Council District 4. Councilmember Tom Labange's seat when he terms out March 3rd, 2015. And I have to share this with you. So I'm shredding all this stuff this past weekend, and all these calendars, you know how you save your calendars over the years?
Wait a minute. We have a district attorney assistant here. You don't talk about shredding in front of him. Okay, go ahead.
So anyway, so I went through all my calendars, and when I was president of the Parents Association for Sherman Oaks Elementary, I started coming to the SOHA meetings. I thought I've only been coming for 9 years, but tonight is my 100th meeting. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Ron Ziff. I'm running for re-election, Area 6 in the Sherman Oaks Neighborhood Council. And the issue I'm after is traffic. We've got to solve the morning traffic jam that radiates from Sepulveda and Ventura. 600,000 cars every day. I'm trying to get Metro to run some buses and take 30,000 of those cars off the road. The other thing we just worked on recently was trying to shut down the illegal nightclub that's operating at Ventura and Willis. And they were raided 2 weeks ago along with Councilman Labange's office. They're helping us on that. Come out tomorrow if you live south of Ventura and between Sepulveda and Beverly Glen. The election is at the Senior Center, Van Nuys Boulevard, 4 to 8 in the afternoon. Ron Ziff.
Thank you very much. Does this man look familiar?
Does this man look familiar? Richard and I were talking earlier. My name is Wally Knotts. I had the pleasure of representing Sherman Oaks for quite some years when I was in the California State Assembly. And Richard and I...
Matt, can you please tell Jonathan Brand? Thank you.
We're in school. Richard and I were reminiscing about the 405-101 intersection in the 1999 era when it had come to a complete standstill and the California bureaucracy was doing nothing to alleviate the situation. You can identify with this. We found out that the Caltrans had a plan to open up a lane that would significantly improve the safety and the throughput of the 405-101. They had the funding to build the project, and they were just sitting on it. So we formed a partnership, got together, and forced the Caltrans to begin improving the 101-405 intersection so that it could be safer, and so we could get to work, move our lives about, get to school, take care of our kids in a much speedier way.
So what are you doing now?
Now I'm a candidate for Los Angeles City Council, and frankly, the number one issue that people mention to me, there are many issues that folks discuss and are deeply knowledgeable about. Guess what's the number one thing I hear about? Traffic. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
No,
I'll be talking a lot about that. The only other thing I want to say is that on this campaign trail so far, it's been nice to make a new friend. Joan Pellico is an absolute delight to be on the campaign trail with. That's a luxury few candidates can attain. I'm a lucky man.
thank you.
Hi there, I'm John Beckman. I'm representing Lisa Petrus. This is for Neighborhood Council. You heard about this election tomorrow from 4 to 8 p.m. at the Adult Center on Van Nuys in the park there across from Burger King. So if you're in Area 4 or Area 6, you should come out tomorrow to vote, please. And Lisa can't be here tonight because she is in New York, but I handed out brochures, and if anybody else would like a brochure, let me know. She would be a great candidate.
Thank you.
Last but not least, hi, I'm Linda Brooks, and I too am I'm sorry, and I used to be a school teacher. I should be good at this. I shouldn't even need a mic. And I too am running in Area 4, but business rep, so not at all in competition. 3 different areas of people that you can vote for. I was very active. I was very active in SOHA years ago. You may have remembered the huge project we worked with, the Galleria reopening, and all of the impact we had in the neighborhood, and that was one of my big projects. Due to family issues and whatnot, I've been a little busy just doing small neighborhood issues, but now I'm back, and I want to continue to help and improve Sherman Oaks. I too am fighting for traffic control. In fact, I did not, I opposed the IVT plan, as did SOHA, and I think there were other plans that would have been better. What else can I tell you? I made the fudge tonight. I hope you loved it. Anything?
We cannot be bribed.
Well, you haven't had yours yet, I don't know. Anything you want to know about me and more information is on
And what is your
my
name?
flyer.
What is your name?
Linda Brooks.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay, let's discuss our speaker this evening. Since 1995, he's been coming here. That's 19 years. He was our councilman. He was our assemblyman. And now he's our city attorney. And he's always been here for us and with us. Also, I asked him to kind of explain some of his background, where he grew up, his family, because people see names in the newspaper or see them on television, but who are these people? They talk. But are they real people? Do they have a background? Because you can learn more about, in my opinion, you learn more about a person based upon what he's done than what he says he's going to do. With that, I'd like to introduce City Attorney Michael Fiora.
Thank you. I'm going to go around the table and not under the table. But you will, because I have a microphone now. Hi. It is like old home week to be here, you know. I mean, I'm looking around, you know, Dee and Ed did one of the first fundraisers I ever had in 1995. Jules was tearing down illegal signs with me in 1996. Matt was urging me to prevent a CRA zone from happening on Ventura Boulevard. We worked on that. I mean, it's like, we're all friends. So my background is this. Actually, I'll tell you a funny story. When I was running for this job, I was at a backyard fundraising event, and most people at the event didn't know who I was at all. They were new to me, which was great. The host knew me. The host is a guy who's very funny, he kids around a lot, of an Italian-American descent. So he stands up and introduces me and says nothing true for 10 minutes. He says, oh, Mike Fewer, his ancestors, like mine, were dirt farmers in Sicily. They learned how to ranch and they moved to Texas, where Mike was born. Mike learned how to rope cattle. And it was on for like 10 minutes. And people were saying, wow, this is a really interesting guy. It was truthy in the Jon Stewart sense. So I'll tell you a few things about me, a few of which might be true. I'm actually born and raised in San Bernardino. My father was a school teacher and then a school principal. He met my mom at UCLA. My dad was a kid of the Depression and enlisted in World War II, and many of you know became a turret gunner in a B-24 bomber and in the Army Air Corps, and was shot down and interned in Stalag 17, the Nazi prisoner of war camp, and barely survived. My mom grew up in Boyle Heights. My grandfather on my mom's side was named Munya. He'd come from Russia, but the boat wasn't allowed to come to America for 3 years because they had quotas for Jewish people, and so he was in Cuba for 3 years, learned how to speak Spanish, and opened up Don Manuel's mercantile store on Brooklyn Avenue. True. All my mom's friends thought she was Latina until she got to UCLA because she spoke Russian, Yiddish, and Spanish. That's what they did. And my folks met there. My dad, from an early age, taught us about how precious life is because he barely survived that prisoner of war experience. He'll be 91 in May, and he still volunteers in public schools here in Los Angeles. You know, by the way, what my dad does, and Richard will come, I'm going to say like another minute or two and then I'll stop, but you know, my father has this program, and it is so cool. He goes into elementary schools with 4th and 5th graders and gets them in a circle, it's called Community Circle, and he talks to them about issues that sometimes their parents can't discuss with them, and the schools never do. Like, what happens if your friend is being bullied on the playground and you want to intervene, but you're scared of the bully too? What if there's someone cheating in the room and asks you to help them cheat on an exam? How do you handle that? You know, what if your dad is hitting your mom? What do you do about that as the kid? Stuff like that. And I've gone to those sessions, and it is an amazing thing. This beautifully diverse array of kids, and they're jumping out of the skin. When my dad was a principal in San Bernardino, everyone called him Mr. Fewer. No one called him by his first name, because that was what one did in those days. To see these little pint-sized people in the playground saying, Mel, Mel, it's quite an extraordinary thing. And my mom is herself very active. She's a docent at the LA County Art Museum. And what she does is to work to encourage families that otherwise don't come to the museum to feel it's theirs. You know, kids from very difficult backgrounds and their parents come through with my mom, and she has these curricula to teach them about how art is important for all of us. I'm married. I've been married for 30 and a half years. My wife, Gail, is a Superior Court judge. She presides over a courtroom in which there are very serious felonies. And it's actually, she has some very, very dangerous crimes that she handles in her courtroom. Our kids are 23 today. My son just turned 23. And my daughter is 20 and a half. Many of you are saying, oh my gosh, I can see the faces, because you remember when I was running for office in 1995. And in those days, my kids were 4 and 2. And my 4-year-old then is my 23-year-old today. So Aaron, our son, who's 23, graduated from Yale the day before the election in May, which would be lovely, except you kind of want to be in Los Angeles the day before the election. And that weekend, of course, I'm a dad, so we were in New Haven. And he graduated, it was beautiful, and he has a company now Aaron's got a very cool thing. He's got a company that uses the internet to survey parents and kids for school districts to get insight into how those districts should realign their priorities to focus on what matters most to families. And he has contracts all over the country to do this. It's a wonderful company. And our daughter is a junior at Yale and just spent her fall semester in South America. She decided that she wanted to do something that was really relevant. So she went to Quito in Ecuador and Cusco in Peru and worked for organizations helping young girls who've been victims of sex trafficking and kids who live on the street to teach them how to read and basic hygiene and stuff. And I can just tell you, we actually picked her up in Quito, and it's an extraordinary thing where your kid says, I cannot take you to where I lived, it is too dangerous. It's not a good thing for a dad to hear, but both kids are marvelous kids. So that's a little bit of background. And now let me share with you a little bit about the City Attorney's Office. First, I have 3 stellar members of my team here. Tamar Galatzin is back there. You know Tamar very well. That's an applause line. Tamar Galatzin is here. Now, you guys all know Tamar as a neighborhood prosecutor. I want to talk to you in just a second about neighborhood prosecutors. Candy is here. You want to stand up, Candy? As is Rob, who doesn't have to stand up, but he's standing up, and Rob will always be the tallest guy in the room. So Rob Wilcox is in charge of my community education and outreach. And by the way, you know, when Rob will tell you, Rob worked for Laura Chick. You might have noticed Rob when he was working for Laura when she was a controller. When I won this job, I sat down with Rob and I said, you know, I really don't want like a PR person working with me. I want somebody whose job will be to get my office and me out into neighborhoods throughout Los Angeles and talk to people very directly about what they care about the most, educate communities and so on. And this is like the 110th or something such meeting, right, Robbie? He's been doing a great job at just that. So let me share a little bit about the job, and then I know we're going to have a free-for-all of questions. Matt has told me he's going to make every question as hard as he can just to test me, which I appreciate very much. So when I ran for the job, you might remember I said in this room that I wanted to focus on neighborhoods. And I would take very concrete steps to do that. In fact, one of those discussions here became a daily news article because I said I would double our neighborhood prosecutor program. And we are doubling our neighborhood prosecutor program, which is not an easy thing to do right now. Because just to give you a sense of our office, you know, maybe I should take a step back for a second because I'm assuming facts that aren't in evidence here. Let me tell you a little bit about what the office does, because I'm sure that many of you still aren't sure what the city attorney's office does. The city attorney writes every law in Los Angeles. The city attorney advises the council and the mayor and all the departments and agencies about every issue that has a legal element to it. And since almost every policy issue has a legal dimension to it, we're involved in pretty much every issue that matters in Los Angeles. Our office defends the city when the city is sued. Sometimes those lawsuits ought to be handled in the following way. We should just win and save taxpayers money. Occasionally, a lawsuit is brought because the city is making a mistake, and we need to do something to fix the mistake. And those lawsuits are opportunities for us to solve a problem. The city attorney prosecutes every misdemeanor in the city. And as Tamar, our neighborhood prosecutor, has told you many times, those misdemeanors are serious issues in neighborhoods. Whether it's graffiti or blight or drunk driving or domestic violence or sex abuse or an array of other issues that really count in families and on the street, those are serious issues, and we are about to take some very creative steps to make our work even more effective. The city attorney also can bring lawsuits on behalf of people who need to have their rights vindicated and have nobody else to do it for them. And the city attorney can propose laws. That's the job. It's a huge job. I have a big staff. But that staff is severely diminished over what it was when my predecessor took office. When he took office, as an example, just 4 years ago, there were 302 prosecutors in my office. We do civil work and work to prosecute. When I took office, not 302 prosecutors, 183 prosecutors. And that's indicative of extremely severe cuts in my office in just the past few years. You're going to hear from me that we're doing more than we've done before in a whole array of areas with many fewer people. We have aspirations to do great things, and let's talk about it. So I mentioned neighborhood prosecutors. Why is it important to expand that program? You know Tamar, and therefore you know how crucial she is on day-to-day quality of life issues you care about. Because she's the quarterback, right? She's the person who makes sure that if there is any issue of criminal justice that has anything to do with what you care about the most, she's on it. And she's not passively waiting for you to come to her. She comes to you. Tamar, I've often said, is an example of how to define what a neighborhood prosecutor should be. The person who is the go-to problem solver in a neighborhood. You can imagine why doubling that program would be a good idea. We have a lot more work to do because it's still down from far below what I want it to be, but it's on the right track. When I ran for office, I said I would focus on issues relating to school safety. And I've done that. I have a person in our office now who's our point person on school safety issues. It's less of an issue here than other parts of town. But I will tell you, in many parts of the city, kids do not feel safe walking to school. And we need to change that. In fact, I'll tell you, I was at a gang takedown in the middle of the night about a month ago or so with a bunch of law enforcement folks. And one target of our work was a neighborhood and some gang members who were occupying a building just a few doors from an elementary school. And the reports were that little kids and their moms were walking by this house and the gang guys were standing on the street and intimidating them. Who should live that way? It's outrageous to me. We have a lot we can do about school safety. I don't have any jurisdiction on school campuses, but we have jurisdiction in the neighborhoods surrounding schools, and we're putting in place safe passages programs for kids in this city, and we're working to assure that problems like that gang house don't exist on pathways to schools for our children. More. I said when I was running for this office, that I focused on gun violence issues, big issues. And let me tell you why, even in a neighborhood that has very little gun crime, you should care about that. One concrete step we've taken early on when we assembled this program. Domestic violence perpetrators aren't allowed to have weapons. Our police officers will tell you among the most volatile calls that to contend with are scenes of domestic violence. But there's been no system in place to assure that the law that says they can't have weapons is actually effectuated. That's changed now. Because we came in office, we worked with the police department and the court system, and now there's a system in place to prevent that from happening. I mentioned, by the way, this gang takedown stuff. Let me tell you just a really funny story just for a second. So, when I was in office for about a month, at about 3 in the morning, my security guy came to my house with a bulletproof vest, gave it to me, and took me to the Coliseum because it was a staging area for a whole array of law enforcement agencies, federal, state, and local, from which to deploy to remove key gang leaders from areas in Los Angeles. Something that's very important to do. So I get to the location, and several of my lawyers and a paralegal are going to be coming too. And they're very brave folks because the paralegal, for example, serves gang members upon their arrest with papers from our office telling them that we're suing them too, directly. I've actually told her I don't want her doing that anymore. I want police to do it. She said, no, this is who I am. This is what I do. So we're in the parking lot, and one of my lawyers lives not far from us here. And she's a tough person, but she's also a mom. So she arrives in her Honda Odyssey minivan in a parking lot with maybe 800 law enforcement people. We realize that all of us cannot fit in the car that has brought me to the Coliseum. So a police officer, security guy says, great. He slaps on, with Velcro, 2 LAPD things on the side of the Honda Odyssey minivan. So picture the caravan leaving the Coliseum parking lot in the dead of night. First vehicle is an open truck onto which are hanging about 20 SWAT officers, fully decked out like they're going into Iraq with military-style assault weapons. Following them, a big bomb squad car. Following them, an armored emergency medical services vehicle. And then the Honda Odyssey minivan with like orange juice in the back. We have water and the whole thing. So we get to, this is true, we get to the scene of the first takedown. And it's in a tough neighborhood. They want us, even with vests on, to stand a little bit away from the initial activity. There are lots of law enforcement guys on the street. The neighborhood is starting to stir because activity is beginning. It's very, very dark outside. There's an apartment building adjacent to where we are standing. Above me, a window starts to move, and you can see that the curtains are opening. And my security, are pretty uptight about this. First, they're gonna have a weapon up there. And then you see a face, we could barely make it out in the window because it's so dark outside. And nothing happens, it's very tense. And then these words, "Mr. Fewer, so good to see you at work so early in the morning." Really? So, my kids say that my mustache is so uncool, it's almost cool again. It has some value, obviously, in the community. All right. So, true story. All right, so anyway, going back to what we're doing in the office. I mentioned earlier that we stand up for people. And I wanted to share with you some examples you might have read in the newspaper that reflect the breadth of our work. You might have seen last week, we stood up for you. Because taxpayers are entitled to have funds when a big company doesn't pay the city. And Time Warner Cable, we've alleged, owes the city millions of dollars. So we sued them. Another example, as you might know, you've heard many times about the controversy surrounding the Department of Water and Power and these two trusts that our controller's trying to audit. Well, we're the lawyers. So we've gone to court. The matter was actually just postponed from a couple days ago. But we are looking forward to being in court to stand up for the right of the controller to have access to the most basic information to assure that your ratepayer money has been properly spent. We're in the middle of that. You might have seen that we sued because there's an oil production facility in another part of town that folks in the community allege has been a source of serious health issues for them. We're on it. And then in places where the most vulnerable among us are relegated to being. Skid Row. You saw that we sued because a hospital chain dumped a patient on Skid Row. Picture how you would feel being discharged from a hospital and being taken to Skid Row, doors open, you're let out, that's it, you're on your own. And I just met with the leaders of the Hospital Association here in Los Angeles because we want to work with all the hospitals to prevent that from happening ever again. These are just a few examples of the work that we're engaged in, from suing major banks over the consequences of the foreclosure crisis here, to focusing on environmental problems, elder abuse. You might have seen we sued an assisted living facility because they were taking in people with mental disabilities, and then 50 people were required to share a single toilet. Think about living that way. So we are on, you can picture how broad this jurisdiction is. Time Warner to Water and Power. Skid Row to people who are our most vulnerable disabled people. That's who we are. So our office is doing great stuff. We're expanding neighborhood prosecutors. We're in communities around the city, and I'm here to answer any questions you have. But we have so much potential. And I want to conclude with this point before I get on to the questions. You know, I was here I think the last time I was actually here was the debate we had in the campaign. And I talked about the fact that it's so crucial to have the leaders of government in the city working as partners with you in neighborhoods and with each other. The city attorney has to be a strong, independent voice within City Hall. And there are moments when I've had to say to city council members and others in the city government, you know, you can't do it in this way. I've done that already, but you haven't heard about it. Because a good lawyer counsels their client, and the client says, okay, I get it, we move on. What you want, I think, is, you want Galpert and me working together on the water and power stuff. You want the mayor and I teaming up to deal with some of the issues that I mentioned a moment ago about safety and kids and so on. You want the council and the city attorney to be working seamlessly to effectuate the goals from economic development to traffic safety you care about. That's who I want our office to be. The key problem solvers in the city who listen carefully to you, listen carefully to other civic leaders, and collaborate to get the job done, rather than what we see in Washington, which is a standstill to play games. We're here to help. Now, Matt, you want to ask me the tough ones?
Well, before he starts, I want Tamara to stand up. Tamara, come on, don't be shy.
Hey, wait, you got to flush spontaneously this time.
Tamara is our, I assume everyone knows, but is our neighborhood prosecutor for the Sherman Oaks area. She's been coming to our meetings, virtually every meeting, for how many years? For 12 years. Other than Matt Epstein, I don't think anyone's been here that many times. And the first question is, Mike, promise, it's not a question, that you will not transfer her out of Sherman Oaks.
So, Tamar, how do you feel about indentured servitude? All right, all I can tell you is that, as I said earlier, I hold up Tamar as an example within our office and in every community. And I want Tamar and you should be happy. That's all I can say. All right.
All right, we do have a handful of questions. As you guys know, some of the questions I will not ask because I'll run out of time. Some of them I won't ask because they do not apply to this office. And I think there's one or two that I might not be able to ask because I can't read it. So I'm going to get to as many of these as I possibly can, as quickly as I can. Sure. So the first two questions I'm going to ask is because I've had two questions on the same subject. And I'm not asking these questions. They're asking the questions. So I'm going to state your name, who wrote the questions down, and if you're here, if you please stand up so he can address you guys instead of me. So the first questions are from Bob Anderson and Patricia Bellahurst. Okay. So, and this is a question that's been written about recently in the Los Angeles Times and City Watch, and thank goodness it's finally getting a spotlight on it. It's about the 245 motion here. What is your opinion on council members using the 245 process to circumvent the planning decisions? What can be done to curtail this unfair practice? And then communities that successfully sued the city and won because Los Angeles council people ignore with the 245. How is your office protecting the taxpayers from this political abuse and millions of dollars spent?
Okay. All right. So, are there more questions? No, I'm just kidding. So first, let's talk about what's at issue in the questions. The 245 number that Matt referred to boils down to this. Council members, there are in the city commissioners and council members, among other players. Commissioners, like Matt, take action. In his case, on planning issues, and that's what these guys are talking about here, Pat and Bob. Those issues.